Lisa Frankenstein hits theaters. Funny? Stupid? Let's hear my thoughts right now. Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for spending time with me in my tirades about movies, television, comics, and board games. I really appreciate you spending time with me. So before we jump into it, remember to like and subscribe. I am trying to grow the channel out, so if you can subscribe, that would be amazing. So we are going to talk about Lisa Frankenstein, but I am your host. I am Frank Zenka. I am an award-winning screenwriter, novelist, and comic book writer, and it looks like we are going to start gearing up. I got a couple of films that I'm trying to put together right now. It's going to be exciting because I'm also a line producer that recently moved to Atlanta from Hollywood. I'm thinking that there's definitely more production happening out here. So exciting stuff. I'm getting excited. I'm starting to see some movement. But remember too that Lords of LA, which if you want to check out anything that I've written, of course I'm on Amazon. But on top of that, we're launching, or I just launched, issues 1 and 2 for Lords of LA, which is my vampire mob set in 1950s. We are doing late pledge right now, so if you can jump into that. The link is in the description below, or you can go to Indiegogo.com and type in Lords of LA, and I'm sure it'll come right up. So yeah, if you can, we've already been funded through Kickstarter, but I am trying to fund a couple more pages. I have 10 more pages to go, and if you can help me out with that would be great, because it is 48 pages, so I've already, we only have 10 pages left, so I have like 38 pages done already. So anyway, let's jump into my thoughts on Lisa Frankenstein. So I had a very low bar for this film going into it. Very low bar. Especially after seeing Kathryn Newton's performance in Quantumania. But I have been a fan of hers in the past, especially when she was doing Supernatural. I thought she was great in Supernatural, and that was, what, a dozen years ago? You know, how young she probably was at that time. But she was great in there. Even as a child actress. She was not a child, but she was a teenager. And then, you know, she also did a few things here and there. I did was like Cock Blockers or whatever else. She was in that. Then she did the Vince Vaughn switcheroo, where she played the serial killer because Vince Vaughn was a serial killer. I forgot the name of it, but she jumped in there. And that was okay. But it wasn't her performance. It was just the writing was pretty bad on that. So I came into this film going, okay, this is probably going to be really bad. You really have no-name actors in here. You got Kathryn Newton, who is coming off a very failed film. And then you have Cole Sprouse, who's really only done Riverdale. He's done a couple of low-budget films. He did that one about 6 Feet Apart or whatever it was. But his only really claim to fame has been Riverdale. So that's pretty much all we have. Carla Gugino, it's a very, very small role. I think she's great, and I think she was underutilized here. The fact that she even took this role is surprising to me. But it goes to show you that I guess actors will come on to stuff if they think it's just going to be fun, and that's what this is. So. If you got to walk into this film having low expectations, first of all, kind of like what I did. And then on top of that, knowing that it is a highly forgettable film. It is a film just there as a thing to have fun with while you're sitting there. So it is like it's a popcorn film that it's not going to impact your life at all. Is it boring? No. You're thoroughly entertained while you're sitting there and knowing in the back of your head, this is damn stupid. This is damn stupid. But it did get a chuckle out of me. I did laugh at certain things. It takes place in the 1980s, which I thought was great. If you've watched my other videos, you know that I have a thing for big hair because I grew up in the 80s. So she had the big hair. We saw Carla Gugino in like the aerobics outfit that they used to have back in the 80s. There wasn't any phones or anything like that. In fact, I didn't even know it took place in the 80s, and they don't tell you what the year is until you're into it. You realize that, okay, you're in the 80s. Once you see like the pants that had like the no ass on them at all, like baggy ass. I didn't see anybody with leg warmers or with headbands, so we didn't have those. But we did have the goth girl thing, which the goth girl wasn't primarily the 80s. That kind of stretched, it was more. I guess it was more the goth girl was more the Madonna look in the 80s, and then it became the goth girl thing more in the 90s and definitely in the early 2000s. With it became like the big boots and stuff like that for females, where they either was platformy or something to that effect, where it was kind of very bulky boots, things to that effect. But anyway, we get to see. So I think the costume design on this was very good. She did a really, really good job on the costume design. I also thought that the production design, for the most part, was pretty good. I can tell that they pulled back on some of the budget. I don't know what the budget is on this, but if I was going to guess, it would be very small, especially with the director having very few directing things that I didn't recognize anything that she had done. Now, as far as the writer, so the writer's name is Diablo Cody, and if that's her real name, first of all, it sounds like a male name. Second of all, it's the name of the devil. So I can't imagine somebody naming their child that. But she has some really big credit. She has Tully, Raised by Wolves, Ricky and the Flash, Children's Hospital, United States of Tara. She created that. Jennifer's Body, and Juno. She is an amazing talent as far as writing's concerned. And then, I guess she had no problem kind of stepping back and saying, let me just write something that's kind of fun and off the cuff. Then, of course, we have Catherine Newton, as I said, Cole Sprouse, but we also have Eliza Sobrano, who is, I really liked her character. I liked her as an actress, but to me, she felt out of place because we had Carla Gugino was her biological mother. We don't know what her father looked like, but she doesn't look anything like her mom at all. I mean, nothing. And you have Catherine Newton's character, and then it's her mother was murdered, and then her dad remarried. So that's how we get this kind of weird dynamic. But as much as I like Liza's character, because you think that she would be playing the character that's kind of belittling her sister, because her sister's weird, stepsister that is, but she didn't. She stuck by her sister, and she didn't mean girl her at all, which I thought was a good twist on a normal trope. So the problems, well, there's a lot of problems. Again, this is a stupid film, not to be taken seriously, but I think it could have been even better with a little bit more setup. So I like the whole beginning. The whole beginning felt like a Tim Burton kind of setup with these animated pieces, but they're all silhouettes where we find out what happened to Cole Sprouse's character before he died, purely in the credits. He has no lines through the entire film until the very last scene of the film. So he had to act purely by emoting. And if I was him reading this script going, I have no lines, what the hell? But it felt very much like Warm Bodies, which was the zombie movie. It almost fit exactly into that peg hole. I think there was a little bit more. I think this was a little bit darker because we did have chopping with an axe and things like that, like you see in the trailer. We find out very little about him, except for the fact. So this is in the credits. So there's no kind of spoilers here because this happens literally in the credits. So we find out that he was in love with this woman, and I guess she was a little bit flighty. And as soon as she started this relationship with him, where he fell in love with her, she was immediately onto somebody else. And that hurt him quite badly, and he just died. We don't really find out much about him, and we don't. I think that we should have known that he had homicidal tendencies, and we don't ever find that out. So he kind of changes character. So he's a musician, and he plays piano and stuff like that. And we don't ever see that he has homicidal tendencies. I think he should have killed, in the credits, a la Sweeney Todd, killed his fiancée. I think they were going to get married, but I think it was a fiancée, if not just girlfriend, and her lover. Then we would have seen that he had homicidal tendencies going into, or at least killed, the lover that she took, going into it, because it felt, as soon as the murders start taking place, it feels out of character for this kind of reclusive guy that was a musician and was badly hurt by the woman that he was with. And when we see the same thing kind of happening in today's time, plus he drives a car without, ever, like Starman, at least she was teaching him how to drive, and he was observing. He just automatically drives. She makes fun of it, saying this is not a car carriage or whatever else. I did like some of the lines were funny. I gotta say, and the delivery and the timing, the comedic timing of the actors, I thought was pretty good. And the fact that Cole Sprouse had to emote non-verbally and get his point across was pretty interesting. So, one of the big problems with the film, besides not knowing anything about Cole Sprouse's character and then him not being able to talk, since we have a double whammy. We know nothing about his setup, and then on top of that, he's not talking. So, again, we know very little about him, and I think we wish we had known more. Plus, her mother was murdered, but we never find out who. I really thought that's where we were going to go, was that we were going to see the murderer. But it's just, that whole thing is just dropped. It's just, don't think that you're going to find out who the murderer of her mother is, because you never find out. So it's just in the beginning, and we never hear about it again. So, again, that's why you got to drop your expectations a little bit, where if you think you're going to get a little bit more with depth, you're not. It's just, there's no depth to this film whatsoever. But the biggest problem with this film is the editing. The editing on this is very, very poor. And now that I say this, you're going to see it. So there's a scene at the lockers, right? And whenever they do the locker scenes, it's always the camera's almost, it's almost like they ran out of time, and they just shot these locker scenes as quick as they possibly could. And so the camera really doesn't move. It's just static. No matter, every scene that's in front of her locker is pretty much the camera's in the same position. So anyway, if you're watching, there's a woman in a green dress who's an extra. And she walks out, and then it cuts to her point of view. So you're looking at Liza's character, which is the sister, and then it cuts back to her, meaning Catherine Newton's character, Lisa. And then it cuts back again, and that same extra is walking exactly where she was in the previous shot. So she almost teleported back to where she was and then walks back out. You can't not see it now that I said it. So if you do see the film and you see the extra in the green dress, you're going to see her again. She looks like a teacher. Okay? And so that was very, very poor editing. You can't tell me that there's no other take that they could have used where the woman was further in frame or whatever. And that also is your problem with your second AD, because your second AD was placing those people. And your scripty also screwed that up. So 3 people screwed that up, and the director, so technically 4. 4 people screw up one shot. Crazy. And then the editor uses it. Wow. Okay, but you'll see other problems with the editing. Some of it's kind of choppy. Again, they may have shot this very quickly, and on top of that, having the time factor. Like I was shooting one film where I was second AD UPM, and it was on. I was double dutying, and it was for a Asylum movie. I won't even tell you what movie, but Asylum is the one that did like Sharknado and stuff like that. We were always pressed for time. And one scene that they shot, they realized that they had shot wrong costumes throughout the entire scene. And it had to go back and be reshot, and we were already tight. Crazy. So that reminds me of what these time constraints that this film was probably under. So overall, I thought that the actors, you could tell that the actors were having a lot of fun. Even Carla Gugino's character, you can tell that she was just making choices based on, the script. And she's like, I'm just going to do it this way. And I appreciate that. The father was kind of a stick in the mud. There's not much you can say about him, but most of the female characters, I think, took this a little bit further. Like even Liza's character, when she was scared and everything like that, I thought she did a good job with that. Cole Sprouse, again, he was working from nothing because we didn't give him anything. The poor guy, man. The poor guy had to take on a movie where he had no background, he had no lines, and they just said, go for it. You got to respect that actor, man, for taking that. I don't know. Anyway, I've already talked about this film too long as it is. It's not even worth this amount of time to talk about it. But overall, I'm going to give this a 6.5, maybe a 7, just based on the actors just having fun with it. But you're going to forget it as soon as you walk out the door of the theater. You will laugh while you're standing there, but that's about the extent of it. All right? Thank you guys again for watching. I really appreciate it. And you guys have a great weekend. Remember to check out some other videos right here. Remember, too, if you can support Lords of LA, the description below has the link to Indiegogo, or you can go to Indiegogo and just search for Lords of LA. Also, Mark Spears and I, our card game is, I'm trying to find a new place in China to print this thing because I have not heard from my warehouse there, my factory in China has dropped off the face of the earth. So I was really hoping to get some of this stuff going, but yeah. So I've rewritten, the cards, and I've been doing a lot of work on it. Anyway, thank you guys again so much, and you guys have a great weekend. And give me a thumbs up or give me a middle finger. All right, talk to you guys later. All right, bye bye.